I was just a kid, I was just a kid. I had no idea. I had no idea what Jiu-Jitsu would represent to me or where I would be, what I would become, It was just a dream. So when I was 20 years old, I had a car accident. And I was thrown out of the front window of my car, and the car rolled and landed on me, right? And I got my left arm messed up. The doctor back then said, man, I think, you're not gonna be able to perform anymore, you know what I mean? Because I had to do a reconstruction of the arm, it was bad. And I didn't even know how much I loved Jiu-Jitsu until then, I believe that, we don't know the strength that we have inside of us until we have to face adversity. I got 300 stitches on my arm, reconstruction, and I left the hostel and I went straight to watch the training session happening in Campo Grande, Mato Grosso do Sul, where I'm from. And every day I came to watch practice. In 3 months and a half, the wound healed and my arm wouldn't extend anymore, and I started training with my arm like that, doing physiotherapy and all that. In 4 months and a half, I took second on the Brazilian Nationals, which back then was the highest thing that I had accomplished. 6-8 months later, I won Pan Ams. Back then, my professor said, man, you're not human, you're a cyborg. And time to time, Jiu-Jitsu has brought multiple challenges to me, asking me, so who are you? And every time I chose to say, hey, I'm Cyborg, I'm coming back. Right in the beginning of my journey, when I was still 20 years old, I came to US for the first time to compete the Pan Ams on my own, without coaches, without anybody. Back in the days, IBJJF used to sell packages where you would just come and be able to be on the room with a bunch of strangers, people you didn't know. And back then, the guys on my room was Abreu and Zé Radiola, guys who came to be idols and idols on the sport. So it was my first major event. We had a bet before the event that whoever would win or whoever would place would have to paint the hair on the color of the medal. Well, good enough. I won my first Pan Am title. I had to dye my hair blonde. It was my first feeling of victory on the big stage of IBJJF. Multiple years after, I moved to US. I'm in Miami right now, and it's so funny to see how history is made. I do believe that what's made here is not just about the gold medal, but it's about the camaraderie, the friendship, the bond that we create. A lot of the guys I fought today or encounter here today are very good friends that has been surrounding me over 2 decades. It's beautiful, to see everybody still competing, everybody pushing themselves, and I do believe that beating and the medal itself is so small compared to everything that Jiu-Jitsu has brought to our lives. And I believe the entire atmosphere that IBJJF has brought throughout all of this 25 years competing at Pan Ams, so this represents a lot, This doesn't represent a medal, this represents a journey, that I've started 25 years ago winning Pan Ams, and 25 years later I'm still here, not winning, but loving, right? Because I think it's so important that more than anything, I'm still just as passionate to Jiu-Jitsu as I was 25 years ago. And I see this dream in a bunch of students of mine and a bunch of kids that came from US and truly all over the world, right? Because it's beautiful to see how there is champions being made for every country on the four corners of the world nowadays. And it's cool to be an inspiration, because whenever I tell stories like this, even I post something on my Instagram about this, and there was one of the kids said, okay, so I won Pan Am, so that means that 25 years from now, I'll be Cyborg. It's important to plant that seed, because the day you plant the seeds, not the day you collect the fruit, But if you keep on believing time to time, and you stick to it, I do believe that resilience is the word that makes dream happen. right? Because it's never gonna be just easy. You know, like I've had many tough times, but I chose to stay, you know, and I believe it's super important for us to choose to, you know, keep on going, you know, like, so resilience, you know. There's something that I can teach that I try to pass along all the time, is that for everyone that actually has a dream inside of them, to believe it, you know, because whenever we believe it and are willing to work hard for it, everything's possible. That kid has stayed in it for 25 years, you know, like for all these years I have stayed and competed on the major stage. You know, I've been competing on a black belt division for over 2 decades now. You know, for what, 21 years as a black belt, top 3 in the world, adult division. You know, I'm competing as a master today, but I'm still competing with the adults. I believe that I have the youngest spirit. At the end of the day, that's what matters. So let's keep on going. There's much more to be done. Huh?
What's there to be done?
Life. There's life to be done, you know, because I think that's a lot of times, if you put the effort on only the achievement, I believe it becomes cheap. There's people that, you know, their entire dream is to win a world championship, and whenever they win, they figure out that it's just a medal. It wasn't about the world, it never will be about the medal. You know what I mean? It's about the journey. It's about, hey, my friends be here on my side and we hug each other and like, man, come on, that takedown was good. It was like, man, next time I'll get you, you know? Because that's what life is all about. Nothing in life is certain. I'm healthy right now, tomorrow I might not be. You know what I mean? So I think that eager of continuing to be alive is what drives us to be better, to keep on pushing, and to achieve the things that we want to achieve in our life. A lot of people ask me, say, hey, so what is next? I say, I want to be happy. You know? I want to continue to do what makes me alive. And this is what makes me alive, you know? Challenge. You know, I think the moment you stop challenging yourself is the moment you die. This is what it is all about, you know? It's not about just competing as an adult or a master. However you can push yourself and however you can make a challenge, I think that brings a spark that will make you stronger. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing that keeps you standing. I say that I don't train Jiu-jitsu, I am Jiu-jitsu. Till we understand that that's what continues to keep us going, that's what's beautiful, and that's why, man, I love IBJJF and everything is doing with the Masters Division. Like, man, 80% of this event here are people above 30 years old. There's old guys and old ladies here that are grandmas and grandpas that are 70, 80 years old that are signing up to compete. Hey, back in the days, people have gave up on their lives much before. And there's people finding motivation in Jiu-Jitsu to keep themselves alive, and I think this is really beautiful. Extremely grateful to everyone who was here, to my competitors, you know, the guys that came here and compete against me, you know, for giving their best, for my students, for IBJJF, for putting in such a great stage for all of us. And this is it, you know, just the beginning. You know, I intend to compete until the day I die, you know, and it's just a part of something beautiful that is a part of my life today. So extremely grateful, waiting for Absolute now so we can sweat a little bit more. And beyond anything, continue to be alive. Os. Mission accomplished, missão cumprida. You know, finishing a great day. Again, came here with the mission of taking double gold home. You know, and like we've been talking about in the journey. Just blessed, you know, so grateful. Thank you all of you guys for the love, for the support. And this is it. Look forward to the next one. Peace.